Would a former dominant closer be a good fit with the Toronto Blue Jays? Ken Rosenthal seems to think so. And of course, I'm talking about Zack Britton. His bowling ball sinker and funky left-handed delivery will play perfectly to the new dimensions at Rogers Center. And finally, Toronto has signed veteran speedster Winton Bernard to a minor league deal, so you won't want to miss this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Goth. A lot of rumors swirling around Jays land today, and we're going to break it all down for you. But before we get into it, we want to thank you all for the support that we've been getting. It's been unreal, and we could not be more thankful for each and every one of you.
Yeah, we're on the road to 7,000 subscribers now, and you guys have been crushing the subscribe button, so make sure to continue to do that if you like the daily content. As the season's fast approaching, we have lots of news to break down. So let's break into the first topic today, which is the Blue Jays are interested in Zack Britton. So a few reports have dropped, and we'll pop them up on the screen for you guys right now. So here's what happened. A report drops. The Blue Jays linked to market for Zack Britton. Blue Jays interested in a free agent lefty reliever like Zack Britton per Ken Rosenthal. I have a few more screenshots, obviously, to go over in the article. But Peter, I'll just get your initial thoughts on, Ken Rosenthal linking us to a left-handed reliever, and I guess specifically Zack Britton as well, and what he could bring to the table before I get into some stats and some other things like that.
Yeah, well, he's dealt with a lot of injuries, and he's starting to come back now. He missed pretty much all of last season, only through 2/3 of an inning, and didn't really look like himself. So all reports are indicating that he put in a lot of work this offseason, that he's throwing harder. His sinker is biting as it used to in his Baltimore days, and even in a little bit of his New York Yankee days as well. So he looks good by all accounts and would be the perfect fit for the Toronto Blue Jays. I feel like we're saying that about any high leverage reliever that could potentially be a difference maker. Any person that the Blue Jays acquire to fill that void in the bullpen would just be a perfect fit at this point. And Zack Britton being a lefty is just a cherry on top here.
Yeah, obviously we spoke about, Scott Barlow being a great fit in yesterday's video, but that would obviously cost a lot more because Zack Britton is a free agent. And like you said, he's been elite in the past, like we'll show you guys in a couple minutes here. But this was from the article I posted this. The Blue Jays could use another reliever for 2023, and it appears they're looking to spend some cash to find the right guy. The Athletics Ken Rosenthal reported Tuesday that several AL East clubs, including the Jays, Yankees, and Red Sox, are interested in acquiring a lefty reliever in free agency, and Zack Britton, Rosenthal wrote, is a good fit. So that's kind of the first time in a while we've had another report from, a super reliable reporter about the Jays pursuing a left-handed reliever, and he didn't mention the trade market, he mentioned the free agency market. So maybe the Blue Jays aren't done spending money after they're already, fairly expensive off-season. So it seems like they're not done yet.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much Zack Britton is going to cost, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it won't be too much. He's getting up there in age. He's 35 now. He was not healthy last year. He was not good in 2021 either. So this is kind of going to be a last chance for Zack Britton. He's got to prove himself here and show that he's still capable of pitching at the major league level. So it could be a low risk, high reward type deal for any team that goes out and gets him. And he's, by all accounts, going to stick in the AL East here. He's been to Baltimore, been to New York. The Red Sox are interested in him. The Yankees are once again interested in him, and the Jays now. So my money, he might go to a different team in the AL East this time around.
Yeah, and maybe that's the reason why the Jays are interested in this, because obviously if every other ALS team is interested in them, maybe paying the extra money to stop him from going to another team. Because I could see him going to the Orioles, maybe returning to the Yankees and having, a year like he did in 2020, 2019, and all those other years. But a few more screenshots for you. This is another bit from the article, basically saying if healthy, Britton would make for a fabulous addition to Toronto's pen, like you just mentioned there. He's never been a big strikeout guy, but his contact suppression numbers were elite in as recently as 2 years ago in 2020. Britton is best at using a simple fastball slider combo to keep runs off the board, which he led to a .54 ERA in 2016. You remember that year, where Bruce or whoever the manager was, I'm forgetting now, but didn't use him in
Buck
the
Showalter.
Buck. There it is.
Buck
I always mix
Showalter.
those up. Buck Showalter didn't use him in the bullpen in the wild card game. But they also mentioned a couple other quality left-handed relief options: Will Smith, Brad Hand, and Matt Moore. Let's not talk about Brad Hand, but it seems like obviously he doesn't really strike out a lot of guys, but when he has, the peripherals that he does, as recently as 2020, he was a dominant reliever in the league, like one of the best by far. So if you can take a flyer on someone like that, especially because he's a lefty, maybe they'd consider him over someone like Alex Reyes, kind of in a similar situation.
Yeah, absolutely, and he doesn't walk many guys. That's another thing about Zack Britton and the bowling ball sinker that I mentioned in the intro with the new dimensions at Rogers Center. The fence is in closer. Probably going to be a little bit more home runs, which is why Zach Pop is so important this year for the Toronto Blue Jays. Throws a sinker, keeps the ball on the ground, doesn't strike out many guys, but he'll keep it in the yard. And that's a big reason why Zack Britton has been so successful over his major league career. And I see no reason why he can't continue doing that if he can find the sinker early on in his career, early on in the season. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll pop up his stats here from the past, almost decade now. So obviously in 2022, only pitched 3 games. Was not great. 2021, 22 games was also not great, but every year before that was a elite reliever in the league. 2016, obviously one of the best relief pitches ever. And other than that, like even 2020, you look at that 20 games, obviously, so not that much, a COVID shortened season, 1.89 ERA. The year before, 66 games, 1.91 ERA. And like we just keep mentioning, he has the track record and he doesn't really rely on velocity, so it should age, fairly well. And you look at his baseball savant here from 2020, his last fully, healthy season. A lot of red, obviously. His velocity dropped a little bit last year. It was down to, I believe, 93 average miles per hour. But if he's getting his arm strength back, he already has the pitches. I think he could be a very, very good option.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he's just a pitcher through and through, and what a debacle by Buck Showalter not putting him in that wild card game in 2016, I
Yeah,
believe. And we'll thank him as Jays fans. Thank you for putting Ubaldo Jimenez in there for Encarnacion to hit a walk-off home run. That was great. We appreciate you, Buck, and all the best in in New York now as you continue your career. But Zach Britton, I mean, the guy's just dominant. His sinker is so hard to hit, and I've faced sinkers in my time playing, and they're just they fall off a cliff, and it's like the ball weighs 10 pounds trying to come off your bat. That's what facing a sinker is. Can't even imagine what a 95-mile-an-hour sinker looks like. So I think he'd be the right fit in a smaller ballpark now, and just perfect for the Jays.
I agree. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on Zach Britton, if you'd rather him over someone like Alex Reyes or, maybe Andrew Chafin, people like that. But we'll get into the second topic now pretty quickly, which is Jays make a sneaky signing. And you mentioned him in the intro. It was Winton Bernard, so a bit of a veteran. And he has one tool that basically would be the only reason that he makes the roster come opening day or maybe come September, depending on what's happening. And so outfielder Winton Bernard is in agreement on a minor league contract with the Jays. Bernard, who spent 10 seasons in the minors before making his MLB debut with the Rockies last season, gets an invite to spring training. And we'll just go ahead and show you here now. He does one thing, and it is he can run. He is one of the fastest guys in the MLB, 99th percentile speed. So maybe a Dalton Pompey situation from 2015, 2016, whatever it was, when he comes in and pinch runs, because he'd be the fastest guy in the Blue Jays by far and one of the fastest guys in the MLB.
Yeah, it's hard for me though to really commit that final roster spot to a one-trick pony, and I think that's what the Blue Jays were trying to eliminate in getting rid of Bradley Zimmer, Jackie Bradley Jr., Raimel Tapia. Those guys didn't really have much versatility, and they were good at maybe one or two things. And Winton Bernard, I mean, all the credit to him sticking with baseball in the minor leagues for 10 years. It's not easy. And he finally got his big break and did okay at the plate with the Colorado Rockies. Hit 286 in a small sample size, and he runs like the wind. But you still need a fourth outfielder that you can play for around 60 to 80 games in the season. And is Winton Bernard that guy? I'm not sure. Maybe you do need a pinch runner in those situations, but that's why the Jays have Kevin Biggio off the bench. That's why they have Whit Merrifield, who's very versatile and can run the bases very well. Kevin Kiermaier as well. When he's not in the lineup, he can run. Dalton Varsho. This was a big point of emphasis for the Blue Jays over the offseasons, getting guys that are great on the base paths. And Whit Bernard would be the best, hands down. He would be the best on the Jays. But can he hit at the major league level on a consistent basis enough to be the fourth outfielder? I'm not quite sure. That's why it's good that it's a minor league deal, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and we'll see how he performs in spring training. And just a final screenshot on him. Well, that's the wrong one. Final screenshot on him. Like you said, 286 in 42 at bats. Didn't hit the ball horribly. Obviously, didn't have any power whatsoever, which limited his OPS. But I don't know. Very, very interesting. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on that signing. And let's get into the quick final topic now. We'll touch on it for a minute. As much two catchers on the Blue Jays in the top 10, and as much as the Jays have been hated by some people on Twitter land, we got a bit of respect. and we figured we'd throw it in there. I got added this a couple times there on Twitter, so we'll pop it up now. Top 10 catchers. It was done by a couple of big podcasts or articles. They have Kirk at 5, Danny Jansen at 8, with Rushman 1, Realmuto 2, and Murphy 3. But we're going to focus mainly on Danny Jansen and Kirk having 2 catchers in the top 10. It's kind of incredible to see how deep our catching depth is. And maybe if you include Dalton Varsho, he's also a phenomenal catcher. So just wanted to highlight the fact that we're pretty blessed at the catcher's position.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's glad to see the Jays finally getting some respect. I still don't think Adley Rutschman is the best in baseball quite
I
yet,
agree.
but I think by season's end he will be. But JT Realmuto right now should be the top dog, and that's my only problem with that list. Very good list, although I know some Cardinal fans were not happy that Danny Jansen, technically the Jays' backup catcher, is ahead of their star free agent acquisition.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to come down to defense and maybe some potential regression going forward. But either way, having 2 catchers in the top 10, Kirk 5, fair spot. And I would agree with you on the Adley Rushman. By the end of the year, probably, or maybe by the end of next year. But right now, I think you just got to give it to Real Muto just because of everything he's done. But let us know what your thoughts are on the list and if you would change it up at all. But that's going to wrap up the video. Support's been great. We're not close, but we're on the road to 7K subscribers. So it means the world if you hit the subscribe button. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks.